Hello.
Hi. Hi, my name is Kulsum Khan. I'm one of the counselors here at the Health and Wellness Center. I'm a social worker and I practice psychotherapy.
My name is Gulpreet Abrol. I'm an international student from India. I am currently in my 4th year studying a double majors in mental health and neuroscience. What is counseling to me? So I think I actually got to know the meaning of counseling when I took my first counseling session, because we hear a lot of things from media, oh, it's all about talking, and I personally always used to think if it's just about talking, then I can talk to my mother or to my friend, because I come from a very collectivistic society where we are supposed to rely on other people. So I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. But I felt that just that space, just sitting with a counselor and being in that session, I felt that I was in a non-judgmental place. It was so safe for me and for my thoughts, for my feelings, and I did not have to fear anything that my knowledge will reach to another person. I think that was my number one problem, why I wasn't comfortable about talking to other people. So I feel, to me, counseling is just a safe place for you to be yourself, for you to go express, for you to go find out whatever you're struggling through, just find out a way of how to get out with the help of the counselor. And I feel just it makes you very happy, it makes you very content after that. So that is what counseling is to me. Yes.
I think that's a great answer. For me, counseling is, well, I'm biased, right? I'm a therapist, so it's definitely supposed to be that, a safe and non-judgmental space where you can really just unload and also process. It's not just about unloading, right? A lot of people think it's just venting. You can vent to anyone, right? So oftentimes, I usually use the analogy of we're carrying a backpack full of things, right? We're constantly putting things on ourselves in our backpack. And sometimes we may feel like we're offloading something onto our friends, but we're really not processing and evaluating what I'm putting in my backpack. Is it helpful for me? Is it useful for me? And so when you come to therapy, we really look at all the stuff you've been carrying, right? And not all at once. We also take our time, right? And pick one thing up at a time when you're ready to pick it up, and really look at whether it's serving you, right? Is it meeting your needs? Is it helpful for you? And start offloading those things so you do feel lighter, right? At the end of it.
Yeah, I can relate. Definitely. Yeah.
Happy to hear that.
Yeah. How do I know if counseling is for me, and how do I seek counseling? So, how I got to know, how counseling was for me. First, I have to say that I was privileged because I was able to study psychology, and I was able to educate myself about, there is something, there's a brain too, and there's a body too, and they have some sort of connection. And the more I was educating myself, the more I realized that something is missing. I'm getting my physical body checked up every month, but I don't think my feelings are in check. I think I'm feeling really burdened. And the time that I took counseling, I think, was very later on in my life. I did it when I was in my first year of university. So that's when I realized, when I was without my parents, I was in a very insecure place. I was feeling very burdened. I did not know, my behaviors kept repeating. I kept doing the same thing even though I knew that I was not supposed to do it. Just couldn't figure out how am I supposed to get out of this? I know that there is something happening. I'm not feeling well with my feelings. My thoughts are not straight. I just need to talk to someone. I just need an opinion maybe, or just to I just need someone to help me navigate through this. I think that's how I realized that I need to seek counseling. And I also feel that anytime you're feeling that okay, like, I just need to talk to someone, and I know that, I can do this, and, I need to heal through this process, and I need to like really sort out my thoughts, go for counseling. I think it's nothing too intimidating. I know as a student, I've heard from other students too, and I used to feel the same. I used to feel like, it's a very intimidating space, because the person who's counseling you, they know everything. Like, they would know what you're talking about. They'll be able to figure out something before you too. So how do I go in that space? But it's not like that. It is not like that. It is a space created for you, so that you can navigate through your thoughts. And I feel that anytime anyone feels burdened, or they're not feeling well with their feelings or their thoughts, I feel those were the reasons I went. And I think if other students also feel like that, even if it's with academics, if they feel pressurized, from their parents, or even just like the pressure to be in a social group, I think counseling can help you navigate through all your thoughts. So yeah, these are my reasons.
Yeah, that made absolute sense. And I think it's very relatable to a lot of students of why they seek counseling or consider counseling. And why would someone seek counseling? For me, it's like, why not? Right? Why wouldn't you want to seek counseling? It's a great opportunity to go and really ask yourself some difficult questions that sometimes we just push aside, right? We're like, later, I'll deal with that later, right? But this is really a space for you to be able to feel like you're empowered, to feel non-judged. And I think counseling is a great opportunity to build emotional intelligence. Right? When in our life do we actually get a chance to build emotional intelligence? Not in elementary school, not in middle school, not in high school. So let's do it now, right? How can I understand my emotions and my feelings better? And so I always ask students, like, what's the worst that's going to happen? Come have a conversation, right? 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you always have the right to leave, right? If you don't feel comfortable, you don't connect with your counselor, you can say, you know what, this was a great meeting, thank you. And, I'm okay for now. And that's okay, right? The counselor will not be offended at all, right? Because that's our job, not to be offended, right? We keep that on the side, and we show up as our professional selves for you, to create the space for you. So I think that's a great answer. And a lot of people struggle with anxiety, difficulty sleeping, not feeling motivated, feeling very overwhelmed, right? Especially with school, you can have, you can feel really overwhelmed. And then navigating relationships, right? People think relationships are just intimate partner relationships, but the relationships we have with our professor, the relationships we have with our friends, our neighbors, or whoever is in our life, it gives us an opportunity to make sure that they're healthy, they're sustainable. And the only way we can do that is going through the counseling sessions, or really understanding what relationships serving us, or where we can set our boundaries.
Can I build off a little? No, I agree, because I feel that just like seeking counseling, or like, going for a therapy session, you feel so empowered. You use the right word, because you get to know yourself. Like, you're a new self, you get to know yourself, like, you know your thoughts, you're in control of your thoughts and feelings. And I guess that's how you feel empowered. Like, you got this. Yeah, kind of feeling. Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I usually use the fishbowl analogy, is that sometimes we're swimming around in the fishbowl, right? Kind of like, we're imagining the Nemo and Dory situation, right? And so you're asking your friends for advice, and they're swimming in the fishbowl with you. And the therapist is outside the fishbowl, and they're like, turn right, I can see you, right? You're hitting a rock. And the only way the therapist can do that is because the therapist is outside that fishbowl. But Dory and Nemo are both inside the fishbowl, right? That's the ocean. But let's come back to the analogy of fishbowl, because it makes a little bit more sense. But
no, I agree. Yeah. I agree. That's a good perspective to put it in. Yeah, definitely. Is counseling for serious emotional issues? I don't think so. I feel that, like how we go to have, like, a regular monthly physical checkup, like a full body checkup, I think it would be wonderful if people would take the opportunity to go see like a therapist once a month, and just like talk and just like process through whatever like they've experienced and whatever they've been feeling uneasy with. Of course, like people with major emotional issues or distresses should seek therapy, but I feel that anyone who just wants to like again just like let the emotional burden off, get a new perspective, just need help with sorting through their thoughts and feelings, can seek counseling too. Like, why not? Yeah, that's my perspective.
Absolutely. I also agree with that. And so you don't have to wait until something severe, right, to seek mental health help, right? Mental health is as important as physical health. So you don't wait until your flu has lasted like more than a month, right? You seek support right when your symptoms start. So it's very similar. So I would say definitely seek support whenever you're experiencing any form of distress.
I want to continue. I should also say that, as a student, I think a lot of students have that perspective that you only should go to counseling if it's something serious, because I think that's what's been portrayed in media.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that's where, where things get tough and like where students get confused that, are other people going to look at me, as something different because I'm going to counseling? Are they going to think that, I'm dealing with a major mental illness or a distress? Are they not going to like, talk to me and stuff like that? So I feel they feel really like stuck in that position because they have never been exposed to the good side of counseling, of like how it's super chill and it's not like really intimidating, like I don't think the counselor is going to operate on you. He's just going to sit and like talk to you. It's as easy as that. So yeah, I think that's where students get a little intimidated. Yes.
It's that internalized stigma, right?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, definitely.
So what can you expect from a counseling session? So when a student enters the Health and Wellness Center, we come and get you and walk you into the office, and we go over the confidentiality and the service agreement so you understand what you're consenting to, what you're expecting, and we follow a one at a time model. So that means you come in and we talk about one issue that's bothering you that day, and then we also offer a stepped care model. So we'll make an assessment, have a conversation with you regarding what the next steps would be. So would that look like just a one-off, one at a time session, or does that look like an external referral to other resources or programs?
Yeah.
And we would talk a little bit about that.
As a student, when I took counseling at Health and Wellness, like you said, I had a counselor who took me inside a room. It was a one-on-one session just for that day, and she first started, like the counselor first started with going over the confidentiality, like she read everything out to me, and she did tell me that, if things are on a serious note, she will have to report, and she will have to let the authorities know. And she really educated me about the process, how the process is going to go about. And then after that, I think I had the stage just for me. The light was on me, and I remember just like talking for like I think straight 35 minutes, where the counselor kept prompting me, I think they helped me navigate through my conversation, and they led me to one thing, then to the next. And I think towards the end, we made like a strategic plan, and I have to say, I didn't make the plan just by myself. The counselor helped me a lot. I don't think in the conversation that I was having, I would ever be able to land on something so solid if they didn't guide me on that path, because I think when I was talking, I was going like from point A to point Z to point, I'm trying to connect it to every single thing, but I think the counselor really put me into perspective, and they helped me create a strategic plan. And I think after that, they also educated me about long-term referrals if I did want to ever seek long-term therapy, and they also educated me about like monthly sessions that they could offer. But personally, I just went with taking just those one-day sessions if I had something come up, if I was struggling with something, because I felt that made counseling more consistent for me, and it was something that I didn't like, look like, it wasn't an obligation for me, but it was only when I felt like doing it, I wanted to do it.
Yes.
So I did it. So that's how counseling went for me.
Absolutely. Yes. So I'm sure that made you feel like you had more autonomy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I have to say, like, because back in India where I'm from, like, as a kid, everything was controlled. Like, if I have to go see a doctor, everything was controlled. There was nothing, no mental health service. I was never exposed to that. So only when I came to university, I was exposed to it. So I think it gave me more autonomy, like you said, and I felt more good about the decisions that I made, because this was something that I was doing it for myself.
Yes.
And not for anyone else, not to satisfy anyone else but myself. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I
always.
think that's one at a time motto, right?
Yeah.
It puts the initiative onto the student so they feel more empowered.
Yes.
And they can seek mental health services whenever they want.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep. Here at the Health and Wellness Center, when you come in for a session, we make referrals accordingly. And of course, everything is a conversation, right? So it's not me just saying, okay, this is where I'm going to refer you. I will ask you, what do you think about this referral, right? These are some of my suggestions based on my experience. So we may refer you to the wonderful doctors we have at Health and Wellness Center. They're all very kind and very knowledgeable. I might refer you to the mental health nurse. I might refer you internally to some of the nurses just to do some nutritional counseling too. We also have a psychologist on the team. We have some departments here at UTSC for students, like academic advising, the career center, the financial aid office, the residence office. So based on that, we can make some internal referrals or campus safety. And externally, we have great partnerships with some of the community health centers locally, Ontario Shores. So we're very, very rich in resources. So it's a great opportunity for you to even learn about the resources around. And many of them are free, right? So free is always good.
Definitely. I think that's a good incentive for students. Yeah. No, I think it's, I really like the fact that our university has this resource pack, because when you go on the website, it's all there. I don't think whatever you need, you can just like contact them, and I think they will let you know, like, it's a problem specific thing, and they will always like guide you in the right way. So there are like so many resources. Yeah, I agree.
So how is counseling more beneficial than talking to a friend? We're professionals. We've gone to school for this, right? So with a friend, we just vent,
Yes.
right? The friend will listen. Maybe they'll provide some suggestions, but a professional is unbiased, right? That's our ethical and legal obligation, is to make sure we're not following our own agenda. Your needs are put at the forefront, what you need in that moment. So I think that is what makes us unique as counselors and professionals. We also follow guidelines by a college to make sure that we're providing appropriate care. And oftentimes, there are distressing events that take place in our lives, right? It could be vicarious trauma, so trauma that we're experiencing from other people experiencing trauma, the news, anything can be very distressing. And so when we experience something distressing, we also have a human need to process it, or else we're holding on to it, and our body stores these experiences. And so when you see a counselor, the counselor is professionally trained to help you process the challenges and the distressing events you've experienced in your life, so you can make meaning from it, right? And be able to walk away making sense of what has happened. With a friend, right, that's not always guaranteed, right? So that's how counseling is different and unique than just talking to a friend.
Yeah. I think counseling is like the most beneficial, like Kulsum mentioned, like it's a very, I think, like she said, like with a friend, you're just going to vent. You're not going to be able to like really help yourself like navigate. Maybe you're going to feel a little relieved with your feelings, because like, you've just like like, just vomited everything that you had inside your mind. But I think with a counselor, when you sit down with a counselor, they're going to take you through like a therapeutic process. I think that's what it's called. Like, they know what they're doing. They're trained for this. They're licensed for this. There's a reason that they go for schooling, because they can actually help you out. So I think in those terms, it's beneficial, just like being in that space and actually figuring out what's going on with yourself, along with a person who doesn't know, is not biased with your past and, with your future, but would only tell you what to do if it's going to benefit you the most, if it's going to improve, your mental well-being at that moment. So I feel that, I think in those terms, it's very beneficial. Of course, I feel that, with a friend, there's always comfort. But I think with a counselor, I think everyone should try it. I don't know. I don't know how to. Sometimes even I get confused as a student. I feel like where I come from really still dominates my thought process.
Yeah.
But the more I educate myself, the more I realize new things, and I feel that it is going to benefit you 100%, because at the end of that session, you're going to come up with something.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to realize that I need more help, or you're going to realize that, yes, this is something that I can work on. And that can only happen with a person who's certified to lead you on that path, or else it's not going to happen, or else you're going to like feel that you're stuck in that moment, I feel.
Yeah.
And there's no getting out. Like, whoever you talk to, like, you talk to a few friends. And I think talking with friends, another thing which is at the back of your mind always, which I feel I'm going to be very transparent, is that how are they going to judge me? How is my next conversation going to look if they know something so vulnerable about me? Like, how is that going to work out? So I feel, yeah, counseling is always beneficial on top of talking to a friend, definitely. Yes.
So you said therapy can focus on the good, right? They can have good aspects and then bad aspects of it too. I would challenge that a little bit. I would say, therapy also creates some discomfort. People sometimes have this really strong belief system that if I'm going to go to therapy, I'm going to be happy and wonderful and it's going to fix everything, right? But sometimes, or often I would say, we have to confront our difficult emotions. We can't be happy all the time. Right? So sometimes we have to have those difficult conversations, and yes, you won't feel great, right? Maybe there'll be a couple of sessions where it's really difficult to talk about that challenging thing that happened a couple of years ago, right? But it will be helpful in the long run. So we're really trying to get to that point where we can have those good emotions and those good feelings.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I agree. I think I want to build a little on this, and maybe I can give another point. So I feel the challenge that you mentioned, I think that's the best thing that can happen in a counseling session, because I don't think a friend's going to challenge you on your thoughts.
Yes.
I don't think they're really going to be like, why? Why do you think this way? Like, what made you think this way?
Yeah.
And I think till the time you really tap, like, you really break through the film that you create around your mind, that, I'm not going to go deeper than this. You're not going to be able to resolve it. So I think the challenge is the most exciting part, because I know that counselors do challenge, like, whoever's sitting right across them. So I feel that's a very fun aspect of counseling. And at the end of the day, like you said, it's going to give you a good outcome. And 100% I believe in that. It is going to give you a good outcome. And I also feel that along with challenging, just being able to sit across a person who is ready to understand you, and who is ready to lead you to a recovery path, and who is ready to be part of your healing journey. I think as a student, as an individual, that gives me a lot of confidence, that gives me a lot of comfort, that I have people to help me out, to help me navigate, and I'm not a fish who's going to be left alone in the bowl, just wandering. I need to be on a path in my life, and I feel that's one good thing that I really love about counseling, that it's not going to be useless. Something or the other is going to come out of it. Maybe I'm going to realize something, or I find like a really beautiful strategy, or I know that I need to work more, like, to be able to really walk, I don't know how to put it, like really in confidence, like, how to walk in confidence at the end of the day, to like really know yourself and not like keep doubting yourself at like every point. So I feel good things. Yeah, these are the good things that come in my mind. Yeah. What do I most enjoy about counseling? I think, like I mentioned, just the conversation. I don't think it's just about talking. Even though I love talking, I would just love to like keep talking about myself, about what I'm going through. But just like the good part is that talking is going to help me find a solution, or has helped me going to like realize more about myself, and I am going to be able to work more on myself. And I just feel that the more I'm growing up, the more I realized how important it is to know yourself, to be able to take good decisions, to be able to take very rational decisions in life. And I also feel that the fun part about counseling, at least to me as a student, is that it helps me really learn about my emotions, how to control my emotions and not the other way around, how my emotions control me. I think that happens a lot in university. As students, we all are procrastinators, and as procrastinating, we really help that term control us. We help it control our deadlines, like, the decisions that we have to make and stuff. And it's not fair to you. It's not fair to yourself. I think what I really enjoy, that it really helps me bring my self-worth up where it's supposed to be. It really helps me recognize who I am, my potential, and like you said, empowers me. So I feel these are the good parts, and this is what I like about counseling. Yeah.
Those are all great answers. I'm beaming with joy right now.
I'm happy.
So I guess for me, what I really enjoy about counseling is I really honor the client's narratives and the students' narratives, right? That they chose to come and share their narratives with me. Yeah. Right? I feel so honored to be part of their journey. And that just makes me feel like I am respected by the student, and they're ready to do this work, and they want to do this work. And when we create that plan and we create that change, and I see the student tapping into their own strengths, and building that resiliency, right, and that emotional intelligence, increasing their insight, self-awareness, it makes me beam with joy, right? Who doesn't want to see that? And when I can see that difference that it makes in that student's life, I know I've done meaningful work, and it helps me sleep well at night,
Wow. You have no idea what you just said. As a student, it makes me feel so good. Like, makes me feel so good. Like, people, I don't think things are progressing now in India, but I don't think there is a platform like this where, people are brought together, and given a platform to talk about mental wellness and well-being. So, and you as a counselor, like really putting it out there, that, it makes me feel good too. Amazing.
Absolutely. And
amazing.
Everything that we're doing, right? Even having this conversation, we're creating change.
Yes.
One day at a time.
Yes.
And normalizing counseling, normalizing seeking out support.
And a significant, like a strong change. And it's consistent. It's consistent. It needs to be consistent. So, very proud. Yeah.
Good to hear.
It's good. I would say what inspired me is the place that I come from. It's very personal to me, but I like sharing this because I feel that, maybe it can help someone also, find motivation in that. So where I come from, a very collectivistic society, we, like how you said, like, you feel respected. This community over there, like my family feels respected when I go and share my problems with them. But as a child, I was never able to really navigate through my problems, and I never felt that, my close ones really understood what I was trying to say. And I guess in India, there are no words that can put my distress into perspective. I don't think there's a word to even describe mental illness or a word to say that, oh, I'm feeling anxious.
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I could never really I could never really put my feelings and thoughts into words, is what I can say.
Yeah.
Because I was never educated about it. These things weren't normalized. And there was a very broad claim that was made in my country, which is that people only seek counseling if they are crazy. They have to be crazy to be able to seek counseling. And if you are going through, an emotional time, or if you've lost a loved one, there's no need for going counseling, because you can only go for counseling if you're crazy.
Yes.
So as a child growing up in that country, I think I grew up in that stigma, and I think that stigma was there in me too, because I think you learn from your surroundings, from your environment. So for a long time, I felt that I did feel discomfort in myself, but I felt that it was okay. If everyone is going through it and if everyone is fine, then even I can be like everyone, fit in that, how do you call that?
Mold?
That mold, and go with the confirmed group, and not be an outlier, and revolt and be like, what is happening with me? I can't figure it out. But then I think I was very blessed to be able to get the best education. My parents took the decision to put me into an IB school that follows an international curriculum, not really an Indian studying curriculum. And that curriculum had a subject called psychology.
Awesome.
So I was like, there you go. I read, so then I go on Google and I read that it says that it is the study about human behavior and brain.
Yes.
So I was like, human behavior, this is something I want to know, because I feel that everyone is so weird in my society because they are not ready to listen. Everyone is dealing with something or the other, but they're never able to resolve it. Why? We have doctors. As a child, I have been going to a doctor since I was a newborn. Then why wasn't my discomfort, why wasn't my anxiety ever answered? So I think then I was studying about psychology. I realized what it was. And then I was like, where am I living? What is happening with me? I am living in so much stigma. And there is so much stereotype that, psychologists, psychiatrists and psychotherapists are like crazy people too. They are called crazy doctors. I was like, what is wrong? What is happening? But I think just questioning these things really built my interest in psychology. I just wanted to know more. I wanted to know more. And I think I got myself involved is because I wanted to get to know myself much better. I wanted to know what I am dealing with, what my family is dealing with, what my society is dealing with, and I wanted to make a change. I still want to be able to go back home and really advocate for mental well-being, and really want to let them know that I guess it's okay, how you go to a doctor, how you go to a physician for a regular checkup. You could maybe go once a month to a psychotherapist just to talk, or to a psychologist just to talk, and I don't think there's any harm. And I feel that stigma, that wall needs to be broken down. And education makes me feel privileged, it makes me feel empowered, and I want to know more, I want to learn more. And the reason I am involved with the UTSC community is because I feel that you can start with your community. So I want to learn over here. I want to learn from people like you. You're giving us opportunities, a counselor like you, because you have that experience. And just to be able to go back and bring a significant change what we're doing over here. Right now it's a process over here. We are getting there, where
we're not fully there.
Yeah, we're not fully there. I have to say we're not fully there. It is still stigmatized. It is still a stereotypical thing, to be looked at that way. But in India, it hasn't started.
Yeah.
And I feel that it needs to start somewhere.
Yeah.
I know that the youth is getting empowered, they're getting more educated because the media is helping them do that.
Yeah.
But I feel that still a significant change needs to be in place. And I feel that I am starting a little bit with my family. Like I keep telling them about what I've learned, like, you know, oh, I went for a counseling session, but they still get very serious. They be like, oh my God, like, are you depressed? Like, is there anything wrong?
Yeah.
Even if I'm depressed, I feel that's okay because I
Yes.
think I'm gonna get out of it. There's nothing that can stop me from healing.
Yes.
I know that now.
Yes.
I didn't know that earlier. I didn't know why my stomach kept like rumbling
Yeah.
every time, why I
can
was
make sense of it now.
Yeah, now I
Yeah.
can make sense of it, and now I know that I have the resources to get through
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And I just, if I can, I want the whole world to know that there is nothing that can stop you from healing because people are educating themselves, people are getting licensed, they're getting certified, and that they're here to help you. So I think so many reasons, but I think they're just just like one mission that I'm going towards is just to break the stigma, to make these conversations normalized in our society. And yeah, that's it, I guess. Yeah, I spoke for too long, but yeah, that's it.
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I think I'm so happy to hear that. And I think that's my mission statement too. Right? Absolutely what you're sharing. Do you want me to build on that a little bit?
I would love that.
Yeah. So for me, I guess like I'm Pakistani, right? So my parents are from Pakistan. I was born and raised in Canada. And there's no word for depression and anxiety in Urdu either. Right? So I think it really helped me when I learned about counseling and I learned about psychotherapy. It really helped me kind of put my emotions and feelings towards it, what I was observing around me. But I guess, you know, the reason I studied social work in my undergrad. And so as a social worker, I just wanted to create a change in the world. I was like, what is my purpose in this world, right? That's where I was. And you know, before when I started, it was rah, rah, I want to change the world, right? And then I quickly realized that it was really hard to change the world. The whole world is a big place, right? And so if I could just change the whole world for one person, that would be enough for me. All right? And that's how we can slowly change the world. And so that brought me to psychotherapy. And I love when I see students and clients. And sometimes years later, I bump into someone and they'll say, Kulsum, do you remember me? And I'll say, I'm sorry, I don't, because I see a lot of people. And they'll say, you helped me this day, X, Y, Z, and now I have a full-time job and I'm happy to be alive and all these things. And that's the best feeling in the world. That's when I know my purpose in life has been achieved. So
Amazing, amazing. That's wonderful. One life at a time.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So how can one make the most out of the counseling experience? I would say make sure that counselor is a good fit for you. You always have the right to say no, or you know what, that was okay, you know, I don't want to continue. That's okay. Make sure you feel comfortable and safe with that counselor, right? That's the first thing. The second I would say is whenever you have thoughts or ideas coming up for you, put them down in a notepad and bring that notepad with you to your session. Because sometimes it's really difficult to recall things in that moment, and our lives are so fast-paced that we can't even remember, right? What we ate yesterday. So when we document throughout the week, you know the things that didn't sit well with you, where you felt low, where you felt uncomfortable, and we can bring that into the therapy session and start unpacking that.
Definitely, I agree. Those are good points. For me as a student, just to know how to be prepared, what it's going to be like. And I feel as a student, when I go into counseling, I think I am a little overwhelmed. That I would have to talk about my feelings, but I always try and tell myself that it's always going to benefit you, so just be your true self. Really say what you're feeling, and keep the conversation transparent. And if you don't like it, it's okay, you can move on to the next person. You're not obligated, like you said. You have to see if you're really gelling well, if you feel comfortable, if you feel safe in that environment. So I feel that these points, and just I just want to tell students, go for it. Go for it. It's only going to benefit you, and only you're going to come out as a really powerful person with like, you know, really high self-esteem. You're gonna feel like, you know, you're worth something, which you are, because we're here on this planet for a reason.
Yes.
Not just here to like, you know, live each day in distress. We have to live our life, you know, at our optimum levels. We need to be happy, we need to be satisfied. So just be yourself. And I think, like you said, just like write down things. I think that helps us be like more mindful of like what's going on around us. And I guess it's a good reflection activity, I feel. So yeah, I think that's my take.
And after the session, I think once you've had your session, I think in terms of the preparation, I think a post preparation is important too. So therapy sessions can be heavy, right? And so I think planning a relaxing activity or a walk afterwards and not just rushing to your next class is probably something I would add to that too.
Definitely. That's a good point. Yeah.
So how often can one go to counseling sessions? It's a great question. So now we follow a one at a time model. So that means you can honestly book a session whenever you want. So you just call the Health and Wellness Center or email the Health and Wellness Center and say, hey, are there any same day spots available? And oftentimes there are. Or we'll find you a slot as soon as possible. So maybe the next day. And there's no cap on how many sessions, one at a time sessions you can have. That's the most wonderful part.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
So that's great. That